students, it's Mrs. Hott from the Morgan County Partnership, and it's time for this week's Positive Action virtual lesson. Are you ready? Let's get started to talk about our new value word this week, creativity, and in Spanish, creatividad. Watch this video. It's time for positive actions. Es sola acción positiva. We welcome you to PositiveValuesNetwork.com. Morgan County Partnership is so excited to have you with us today. Whether you are at home for virtual or remote school, maybe it's distance learning, or you might be in the classroom with your teacher or social worker or counselor, or maybe you're at home or in the workplace even. The Morgan County Partnership is so glad to have you with us this week for the Positive Action Value. Now, here's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about a new positive action value word. We're going to take a look at a positive action activity, and we're going to get a chance to talk about why positive actions are so important. Are you ready? Let's get started.
This little guy is a nematode worm. It's transparent, about 1 millimeter in length, and one of the simplest animals with a nervous system. And his name is Steve. Now, Steve does something quite curious. He doesn't just follow food scents. He also explores his environment, as if he wants to know what else is out there. This worm shows a basic form of curiosity. And Steve does this even though he only has 383 brain cells, or neurons, compared to the 86 billion neurons in your human brain. Your brain is also curious. It's constantly looking for the next new thing. But unlike a worm, our desire for novelty has led us to innovate and create. Our high levels of creativity are thanks to the unique makeup of our restless brains. So what exactly makes your brain so creative? Well, this massive 86 billion neurons is organised in a pretty special way. Roughly speaking, one group of neurons sense the environment and another group react to it. In most animal brains, there's a hardwired path from the sensing neurons to the acting ones. In your human brain, though, there are lots of paths connecting the two, way more than what we need to perform vital tasks. So these surplus neurons form tangled networks that generate random, spontaneous thoughts. And researchers are starting to pinpoint how these thoughts become creative ideas. In a 2016 study, researchers found that creativity seems to depend on the cooperation of two competing brain networks, one that generates spontaneous thoughts and the executive control center of the brain that governs everything else. To produce new ideas, we start with a pool of random, free-flowing thoughts. Those worthy of further exploration are then approved by executive control. And then, when researchers asked people to plan an artwork, cooperation between these two networks went up. And the effect was even stronger in professional artists. Virtually all other research points to a similar conclusion, that no one area of your brain is responsible for creative thought. Rather, many interacting processes by large-scale brain networks work together to give birth to a great idea. And a new theory suggests these brain networks seem to be doing three things. They bend what we see, break what we expect, and finally, they blend things with other things. Your restless brain is full of great ideas, just waiting to be realized.
And we're back. It's kind of cool looking at the science behind creativity, isn't it? But before we go this week, I want to go over a few positive actions that you can do to help you develop and grow your creativity. Number 1, do it. Just do it. Think outside the box. Be willing to be wrong and try your best. Just trying something, go do it. Go try an instrument. Cook a recipe. Read a book. Sometimes you just got to get started on that creativity and do it. Number 2, reading. Reading always is a great way to help boost your creativity. Reading for fun can take your imagination places you've never been before. Reading is a great action for creativity. Number 3, listening. Yes, students, teenagers, listening to others. I know sometimes we have to put those cell phones away, turn off the device, and just listen. Listen to your friends, listen to your family. Listen to someone different than you, okay? Think outside the box and challenge yourself to listen to others. Practicing. If you want to learn that instrument, practice, okay? If you want to learn those math facts or science objectives, practice. And don't be afraid to get it wrong. That's what experimentation is all about, practice. And finally, guys, have some fun. And I want you to watch this next from TED Talk. A way to get your creativity started is to take a break from the digital electronics and go for a walk. Listen to this TED Talk and discover how the science behind taking a walk helps your creativity. And then join us next week for another value word to help you build your intellectual wellness.
So the creative process, you know this, from the first idea to the final product is a long process. It's super iterative, lots of refinement, blood, sweat, tears, and years. And we're not saying you're going to go out for a walk and come back with the Sistine Chapel in your left hand, right? So what frame of the creative process did we focus on? Just this first part, just brainstorming, coming up with a new idea. So we actually ran 4 studies with a variety of people. You were either walking indoors or outdoors. And we all found all of these studies found the same conclusion. I'm only going to tell you about one of them today. So one of the tests we used for creativity was alternate uses. And this test, you have 4 minutes, and your job is to come up with as many other ways to use common everyday objects as you can think of. So, for example, what else would you do with a key other than to use it for opening up a lock? Clearly, you could use it as a third eyeball for a giraffe, right? Maybe. That's sort of interesting, kind of new, but is it creative? So people came up with many ideas as they could, and we had to decide, is this creative or not? So the definition of creativity that a lot of people go with is appropriate novelty. So for something to be appropriate, it has to be realistic. So unfortunately, you can't use a key as an eyeball. Boo. But novel is the second thing, is that nobody had to have said it. So for us, novelty, it had to be appropriate first, and then for novelty, nobody else in the entire population that we surveyed could have said it. So you might think you could use a key to scratch somebody's car, but if somebody else said that, you didn't get credit for it. Neither of you did. However, only one person said this. If you were dying and it were a murder mystery, and you had to carve the name of the murderer into the ground with your dying words. So one person said this. And it's a creative idea because it's appropriate and it's novel. So you either did this test and came up with ideas while you were seated or while you were walking on a treadmill. They did the test twice with different objects. 3 groups. The first group sat first and then sat again for the second test. The second group sat first and then did the second test while walking on a treadmill. The third group, and this is interesting, they walked on the treadmill first and then they sat. Okay, so the 2 groups that sat together for the first test, they looked pretty similar to each other, and they averaged about 20 creative ideas per person. The group that was walking on the treadmill did almost twice as well. And they were just walking on a treadmill in a windowless room. So, remember, they took the test twice. The people who sat twice for that second test, they didn't get any better. Practice didn't help. But these same people who were sitting and then went on the treadmill got a boost from walking. Here's the interesting thing. The people who were walking on the treadmill still had a residue effect of the walking, and they were still creative afterwards. So the implication of this is that you should go for a walk before your next big meeting and just start brainstorming right away. So we have 5 tips for you that will help make this the best effect possible. So first, you want to pick a problem or a topic to brainstorm. So this is not the shower effect. This is not when you're in the shower and all of a sudden a new idea pops out of the shampoo bottle. This is something you're thinking about ahead of time, and they're intentionally thinking about brainstorming a different perspective on the walk. Secondly, I get asked this a lot. Is this okay while running? Well, the answer for me is that if I were running, the only new idea I would have would be to stop running. So, but if running for you is a comfortable pace, good. So it turns out whatever physical activity is not taking a lot of attention. So just walking at a comfortable pace is a good choice. Also, you want to come up with as many ideas as you can. So one key of creativity is to not lock on that first idea. Keep going. Keep coming up with new ones until you pick one or two to pursue. You might worry that you don't want to write them down because what if you will forget them? So the idea here is to speak them. Everybody was speaking their new ideas. So you can put your headphones on and record through your phone and then just pretend you're having a creative conversation, right? Because the act of writing your idea down is already a filter. You're going to be like, is this good enough to write down? And then you write it down. So just speak as many as you can and record them and think about them later. And finally, don't do this forever, right? If you're on the walk and that idea is not coming to you, come back to it later at another time. So I think we're coming up on a break right now. So I have an idea. Why don't you grab a leash and take your thoughts for a walk? Thank you.
All right, see you next week. And remember, teenagers, you are important, you are unique, and you are wonderfully made. The world's a better place because you're here. Thanks for joining us. Hey teens, it's Mrs. Hott here from the Morgan County Partnership with this week's Positive Action Activity. Hey, we need your help. We're home a lot these days and many of you have younger siblings and we'd like you to do something. Grab your younger brother or sister and let's do a positive action for creativity. Pick a song, it can be your favorite song, or you can go to our webpage and get the Positive Action theme song. Stand up and just do some silly dancing. It's good for your physical wellness to do some movement, and it's good for your emotional wellness to have some fun. And guess what else? It boosts your creativity. So I hope you've finished your walk today and you're feeling inspired. Now, take a moment and help someone in your household boost their creativity too. Following that, we have a few tips from our therapist if there's a Widmeyer student at your house, and some great things to do with the family. Stay tuned and keep watching. Remember, Mrs. Hott loves you. Bye.
I am a positive action kid. That's what I am. That's how I live. I am a positive action kid. That's what I am. That's how I live. I am a positive action kid. That's what I am. That's how I live.
Hi everyone, it's Miss Lacey here from Widmeyer Elementary School, where I'm the school-based therapist. Wanted to share with you all another doodle activity this week, including our positive action word of creativity for the week. Our first quote is, "Creativity is contagious, pass it on," and that's by Albert Einstein. And our second quote is, "Every child is an artist," and that's by Picasso. So remember, just color these, decorate them, give them to a neighbor, a friend, or hang them in a window where neighbors or delivery people might see them. Anybody who you think could use a little bit of positivity in their day. I hope you all are staying healthy and safe, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.